It is absolutely inevitable if you run a business selling pay-per-click, social media, SEO, selling websites, selling all these different services, no matter which one they are, you're going to run into situations where you are either marketing to or pitching somebody that has an agency already. Okay. Now, when you encounter this and you learn this fact, how you handle yourself is going to greatly dictate not just your closing ratios, but your reputation in the short, medium, and above all else, the long term. Because what you never should do is badmouth another business. Okay. When you go into the sales arena, when I've gone into the sales arena and I'm going to pitch, you know, a website to somebody, and I find out they have an agency already. Number one, I don't get dejected. I don't feel like, oh, I can't sell them. They have an agency. You know, I don't care about that. That's fine. But I do know in my head that I'm coming in and I'm critiquing somebody else's work. When we're talking about their site not being mobile, right? I'm talking about the failure of that agency to either sell them a new site that is mobile or upgrade their old site or develop it right the first time. So I have to let this prospect know that without saying, well, you have a really stupid agency. I'm in my head, I'm thinking, wow, this agency's screwed up. They're amateur hour, right? But I can't come out and say that. If I do, from the perspective of the client, number one, it's insulting them because they went with this agency. What's it say about them that they picked a business to do business with that, isn't taking care of them correctly, isn't doing their job right? It's not necessarily direct insult, but it's definitely not a positive thing. The other thing is that if I insult this other business, if I come out and just say stuff like that, it looks like, sibling rivalry to the person who doesn't know the technical stuff. The prospect, the client, they don't know all this stuff. I have to educate them in the sales process, and I want them to believe me, and I want them to believe that my motives are not just to knock down a competitor. So you have to make sure that you handle things in a professional way. The way to professionally critique another professional company's work is not to say, oh, well, they're garbage. It's not to come at them like that. It's to come out and say, look, say to them, first of all, I think you made a good choice at the time when you selected this other agency. That's great. But, I run into work like this, unfortunately, all the time. And I'm not, far be it for me to, cast aspersions against this other company because, that's not right. But I do have to let you know and inform you, your site's not mobile. Okay. And there's a reason for that because the technology we have is just so much more advanced. I talk about how I'm better, not about how they're worse. I don't want to kick them down. I want to use the fact that they made a mistake to boost me up. I want to let make this prospect feel like they made a smart decision before, but you're making an even smarter one by going with me. By doing that, I'm not bringing myself down at all. I'm not making myself into an uncouth, coarse, nasty person. Okay. I'm showing them that I'm a professional. The other thing is this, there's a lot of reasons for this. If, I have seen this happen so many times where the person goes in, has a demo and just literally just spends the entire demo knocking the website and the other agency, right? Just literally trashing them. Then the prospect, gets upset, calls up that agency and starts slamming them to their face with all the stuff you just said. And in turn, now let's say you end up selling that prospect and you have to deal with this agency because you have to get information from them. You have to get them to transfer a domain name. You have to get them to act in good faith. You know what? They might not. And they don't have a reason to because they just got slammed by you. Let's say they decide to do the same thing about your business and slam you. I would always much rather be a person that has insults said about them than the person that people know is insulting other people. Because the person who's running around throwing insults at other people, they look like an irrational, nasty, bad actor. They don't look like a good person. Having somebody say bad stuff about you, well, everybody says bad stuff. Who are they? But if you're the person throwing the insults, you're going to be the person that gets painted with the brush of bad guy. Not a good place to be. Other thing about this is how do I take on this competitor without, insulting them then? Like I said, I boost myself up, but also I draw distinct differences between us without making any kind of moral judgment, okay? Any kind of a judgment about those differences. I say to them something like this. Say that my prospect comes to me, Joe's Pizza, right? I'm pitching Joe's Pizza, and Joe comes to me and he says to me, Jake, why should I go with you and not XYZ company, this other business? I tell him, well, Joe, I'll tell you something about us. I do things a little bit differently than XYZ company. We do things differently here. The way that I'm going to develop your site is I'm going to do X, they do Y. I'm going to do Z, they do E. And I draw a whole bunch of distinctions for Joe to understand. I make them simple, direct, one sentence distinction points. And it could be the way that we only launch sites that are mobile. They don't. We only launch sites that are responsive. They don't. We develop our sites using, the Agile project management system. They don't. On and on and on. I'm going to put a list together. And if Joe comes back and says, well, why don't they? I'm not going to say because they're morons and they don't know what they're doing. I'm not going to come out with that. I'm going to say, well, Joe, the march of time is cruel to all of us. At one point in time, the best developers in the world programmed calculators, and they had computers the size of an elephant. Then time marches on. I'm not saying this company is, obsolete by any means, but I am saying that we're more advanced. We're newer to the market, and I'll come out again, boosting myself up. We're newer. We have better solutions, and we know what we're doing because we're developing things in a whole different way. I come out with stuff that makes me, again, look better. Go through it with a sense of positivity. It has to all be positive. You do not want to get in a slug match with some business. The other thing is this happened. I've seen this happen with people. They'll go out and knock somebody's website and just tear it down, with everything on it is garbage, and rip it apart. And then the guy or gal they're pitching will come out and say, yeah, my daughter or my son did that. Or my brother-in-law did that. Or my uncle did that. Right? Yeah, you're not getting that sale. People do that kind of stuff. You need to always be a consummate professional when you're dealing with people in business. And that means never casting insults, never going and painting people in a bad light, never telling any lies, and always handling the situation in a good way that gives you that outcome you need. And you know what? You will be successful because competitors lose business all the time to other businesses. This goes on all the time. Don't feel like because they have an agency, you can't sell them. I don't know if I've ever, maybe a handful of people in my life, I sold them their first website. They all had sites before, meaning they all had agencies before. Same for SEO, same for all these other services. When you're going out there, don't assume that you are somehow inferior to the other guy. You're not. You can make the sale. You've got great solutions. If you're, a Rocket Driver partner or not, doesn't matter. I'm giving this message broadly to everybody because it's very important. You need to handle yourself in a professional way. You will be successful at this. Anyhow, that's going to conclude this video. Hit that like button, sub to our channel if you'd like for more videos like this, and go ahead and leave some comments below. If you want to learn more about Rocket Driver and what it is we do, you can visit us online at www.rocketdriver.com. I'll see you in the next vid.